Hi, my name is Benedict for Higher Hertz. Today we are looking at the shiny new BVX vocoder from Reason Studios. Now this is a rack extension for use inside Reason. You can either use that with inside the full door, which is what you're seeing here, or if you have the rack that you are using it inside another door, like Live or Cakewalk or whatever. So while you do need Reason to run it, you can run that in various other places. Here's what it sounds like.
I don't want to go home now, please. Can I have some more ice cream? Yeah. I don't think I can live without you in my ice cream fantasy. I don't want to go home now, please. Can I have some more ice cream? Yeah. I don't think I can live without you in my ice cream fantasy. I don't want to go home now, please. Can I have some more ice cream? Yeah. I don't think I can live without you in my ice cream fantasy.
Righto. All rather amusing. Just in case you're wondering, the backing is using one of my drum machines through a Hertz delay, and the reverb across the whole mix is the Hertz delay as well.
Go home now, please. Can I have some more ice cream?
Now, in case you're wondering, okay, what does the original vocal sound like?
I don't want to go home now, please. Can I have some more ice cream? Yeah.
So obviously I'm unlikely to go straight from here to a career as a famous singer. Vocoders are apparently sort of similar to auto-tune, but they're actually different. What happens is that the key and the carrier. So the carrier is the synthesizer, the key is the vocal, and it puts the two together. It merges what is common and discards what's not common. So in effect, what happens is that your vocal takes the tuning of the incoming audio. Because we're most likely going to give it a pitch signal, then apparently our singer becomes a synthesizer who's fully tuned. And it's an incredibly effective process. It was actually designed for encoding and making voices secret over telephones, but someone discovered that it also made cool robot noises. So lots of robots, from the Raja Raja in Star Wars through to the By Your Command in the original Battlestar Galactica. All of that stuff is done with vocoders. Most speech synthesizers, where you can get Windows to talk to you, they're actually done with vocoders. So the original
I don't want to go home now.
Please, can I have
putting the
some more ice
vocoder
cream?
in. Now anyone who knows Reason knows that Reason already comes with a vocoder, and a pretty nice one. So here is essentially the
I don't want to
same thing.
go home now, please. Can I have some more ice cream? Yeah. I don't think I can live without.
Surprisingly similar. So one of the things that we are going to look at is, does it make that much difference? Well, it kind of does, kind of doesn't. Once you understand what the new vocoder is doing, it's possible to achieve a lot of the same results with the existing BV512. However, if you're going to use it enough, the BVX gives you a workflow or a usability, a speed, and there'll be a couple of things that you probably could do with it a lot easier than you could otherwise do. But there's not really anything to stop you from getting there or close enough using any of the existing Reason devices. Would you go by Reason just to get this vocoder? Well, I will look at a few more vocoders in a video soon, but it's pretty likable on the surface, or as a yes or no answer. Bigger picture, well, that's where we've got to work out, and you've got to work out for yourself. Where it comes from, of course, is Reason Studios, the old propeller heads now branded as Reason Studios. There are a couple of ways to get your sticky fingers on it. If you've already got Reason, then you can purchase it for $99. Or you can do the rent to own, so over 10 months, it then becomes entirely yours. The other option that Reason is pushing people more and more towards is the subscription, which is, I think, $20 a month, and you get access to all of the Reason Studios things. You don't get access to third-party devices, but everything that Reason Studios have made, which gives you the full door, all of their devices, the ones that are included in the door already, and all of their extra devices, which are generally really rather impressive. And you can then either use their door exclusively with all their devices, or use the rack in a third-party door, like I said, in Reaper or whatever. You lose some of the Reason functionality, so it's not sort of quite the same. You've got to decide which way you want to go. But there are a few options, and if you're thinking, oh, but this is a Reason-only thing, well, Reason is not really a Reason-only thing anymore. Obviously, I am working on the trial at the moment to let you see how it works, and we will dig in a little bit more in a moment to walk through all of the features. Might as well do the good and bad first. You've heard the device. It sounds really good. It's capable of sounding quite varied, which we will see as we walk through all of the options and how it goes. But as a vocoder goes, it's surprisingly clear, or capable of being surprisingly clear. It has a high feature set. There are quite a lot of options in here, and they've carefully gone through and thought, well, what are all the things that you're likely to want or need when you're vocoding, and put them all into the one box. Nicely done. That means that its ease of use overall as a one-stop vocoding shop with the ability to go off and do some other things is very, very high. And that's always been the Reason Studios thing. While I have some concerns as to where Reason Studios are going in general, as I do with many manufacturers, I think that they're still managing to keep that core sense of high usability, even though this is not the first device that I probably would have requested from them right now. The negatives, well, as I'm suggesting, there is not really much new in here. If you really know how to use devices in general, or Reason devices specifically, then there is probably not much that this can do beyond what you could do in Reason already. But that is assuming that you have a high understanding of how all of this comes together. Many people probably aren't, and Reason, like most other manufacturers these days, are focusing almost exclusively on newbies. Therefore, the whole idea of giving them something that does everything supposedly easily seems to be it's the thing. So while it's a negative, it's a positive. It's got a high feature set, but does it bring anything super new to the game? No, not really, if you know what you're doing in detail already. Price compared to existing, well, yeah, if you were smart enough to know how to do all this stuff already, why would you need to spend another $99? Their logic is based around the subscription, being that for your $20, suddenly your $20 got even more value because you've got this lovely, super easy to use vocoder. Fair enough, depends which side of the fence you're on that, well, game. I do think that $99 may be a little high, but then I haven't looked yet at price of comparable VST-type vocoders out there in the wild. I think within the Reason environment, $49 might have made more sense than $99, but as I say, they're pushing for the subscription thing probably more than much else. Therefore, the price could be $2,000. It's all about trying to make people see the $20 a month value. But looking at the device as it sits, is it a good vocoder? Oh, very much a very, very good vocoder that solves a lot of the usability issues that people have when they haven't worked out all of the how do I really get the most out of a vocoder already. Let's pop this one down. Now let's look at the features of the device. We've got the same vocal and the same MIDI. For the moment, we will turn the MIDI off. We press play, we've got our vocal running, we hear nothing. Now, this is not a failing. This is the nature of vocoders. A vocoder has to have these two parts. It has to have the carrier, which is generally the synthesizer, and it has to have the key, which in this case is going to be the voice. If you don't feed it both at once, you will hear nothing. We do have a mixer here.
I don't think I can live without you in my ice cream fantasy.
So we can turn up the modulator, which is in this case the voice.
Home now, please. Can I have some more ice cream? Yeah. I don't think I can live without you
That's
in
interesting.
my ice cream fantasy. I don't want to go home now, please.
The modulator, the clean signal, is not actually coming out clean. I did not notice this before through speakers, but in headphones, this sounds like we're actually listening to the modulator pre-full processing, but already post the sliced up thing.
Can
Now,
I have
that's
some more
interesting.
ice cream? Yeah. I don't think I can live.
I would have to dig in to work out what's going on there, but there is some kind of processing on the modulator, which we would assume to be the clean signal. Strange. We've then got carrier, which is the synth. They have to both be there to get the vocoded signal. So it's important to understand this. Traditionally, a vocoder, you had to plug two things in. You had to plug in your vocal and you had to plug in your synthesizer. Increasingly, vocoders are starting to come with synthesizers built into them. The original vocoder in Reason didn't come with the synth built in, and it used to cause people confusion. They would say it was a failing of the vocoder, but it's just the nature of the vocoder. This comes with a synth built in. There is an interesting feature in that you can hit autoplay. Let's go to a higher band thing for now.
Live without you in my ice cream fantasy.
So it's doing a sort of auto-tune like, let's listen to the vocal and decide what pitch we've got. Now, I don't know whether it's because of my intriguing approach to singing or whether it's just that these detectors are not so great.
I don't want to go home now, please. Can I have some more ice cream? Yeah.
But I find they tend to leap around. And that's obviously just a little aggravating. But there is the option to use this rather than feeding it notes to turn on the autoplay,
I don't want to go home now, please.
and it will try and work out what it's hearing
Yeah.
based on detection
I
speed.
don't think I can live without you.
Or we can lock it to a scale. This is how autotune works. If you don't lock autotune to a scale, it doesn't work very well. So we can
In my ice cream fantasy.
lock it to C
I don't
major,
want to go home now, please. Can I have some
or we
more
can
ice
say I
cream?
only want to
Yeah.
use C and G.
I don't think I can live without you in my ice cream fantasy. I don't want to go home.
But the detector keeps jumping up and down an octave. And again, that may have something to do with my singing style, because I find this on just about all auto-tune things as part of why I can't stand auto-tune, because I find I just can't make the stupid thing work. Also, because it just dehumanizes. And yet I love vocoders, but vocoders are so brash, so cartoony about how they dehumanize. So you can put on the autoplay, but really it becomes fun when you feed it notes.
I don't want to go home now, please. Can I have some more ice cream? Yeah.
So this is a set of MIDI notes. It's our vocal melody, which The voice now will
I
follow.
can live without in my ice cream fantasy.
I don't want to go.
You can also feed it chords.
I don't want to go home now. Please, can I have some more ice cream? Yeah.
And it automatically creates harmonies. So where a auto-tune type thing tends to actually need an instance per harmony, so you might feed it your raw voice, auto-tune to the standard tuning of the singer, and then create another instance and say, okay, I want that to be at this harmony. A vocoder allows you to do all in one. You will get a robot-y sound, but that's the nature of vocoders and part of why they sound so cool. So we're feeding it a set of chords now,
You in my ice cream fantasy.
and then we're feeding it both the melody line
I
and the
don't want to
chords.
go home now. Please, can I have some more ice cream? Yeah.
Cool. That's a bonus with vocoders and how they work. We've got the ability to mix in different versions, but we'll get there in a moment. There's the ability for stereo input, and I honestly didn't fully work that out. Maybe it just makes the whole thing work in stereo. Generally, where you've got a voice, you're only going to have mono. Because you know what? I only got one mouth. So recording me in stereo is just super pointless. It not only wastes a lot of data, and you know the computer has to process twice the amount of thing. But if you've got it in stereo, there's no advantage there at all. Unless you're recording the room that the singer is in, you don't want stereo. A voice is a single point source, so you want to record it that way. But there are instances where you might well want this to take a stereo signal, which we'll look at a little bit later. But your output will almost always want to be stereo.
I don't think I can live without.
Now we've got two main modes, a vintage mode, which is the old-fashioned way of how a vocoder works, and modern, which is an FFT, so a fast Fourier transform. Vintage, we've got the number of bands. Now, if you're used to a more traditional vocoder, you'll go, hang on, well, normally that's 4 bands, 8 bands, 12 bands, there's an extra band. Yeah, reason I've got clever. Whether it's a good or bad thing, I'm not sure. You can control the frequency out of the lowest band. So it's a 4-band vocoder with another band which you can control the frequency of. I'm unconvinced as to whether that's really a great thing, but just see it as a part of the control. So as you're setting this up, you have your thing play. If you want to thin the sound out, you can drop that, or so you can simply choose this extra band that's sitting underneath, or the lowest band, more to the point, and say, okay, where do I want it to sit in the frequency range? Quite simple. Now you might hear a little bit of noise in the background. There is a noise gate built in. If we go too high, obviously it chops up things. So we just want to, as with all noise gates, put that just above the noise floor, because otherwise it will pick up breathing and synthesize that as well. But before you go, oh, but that's awful, that's just part of the vocoder. It's part of the thing. A person's vocal where they never breathe sounds weird. A person's vocal where they breathe too much in the middle of their lines is just disgusting. I know it's super fashionable these days, or has been super fashionable. Thankfully, I think it's going away. But where every single human sound is chopped out is also really weird. I hear a lot of records that are like that, and they're just kind of like, ugh, thank you. So you can set the noise gate. We'll set it just a little bit, and then you've got your number of bands.
Now, please, can I have some more ice cream? Yeah.
Once you get to about 16 bands, you start to get quite an intelligible voice.
I don't think I can live without you in my ice cream fantasy.
So the low frequency thing becomes less of an issue. There are good reasons to want to use low bandwidths, and that's largely just because you get a more synthy sound, you naturally lose some intelligibility. This is a little unusual.
Home now, please. Can I have some more ice cream? Yeah.
Those bands are kind of like synth filters, so they've allowed you to narrow them to make them more
I
resonant.
don't think I can live without you in my ice cream fantasy.
Which is quite cool, especially if you're wanting a real vocody sound.
I want to go home.
We can change the formant.
Yeah. I don't think I can live without you.
Formants are the sound that our mouth makes. So if you're thinking, oh, but that's a bit like, what's his name? The guy with the guitar and the talk box. I'll pop it up on the screen. Show Me the Way. Yes, it is sort of like a talk box. What the talk box does is it pipes the audio of the guitar generally into the person's mouth, and as you move your mouth around, then that forms the sound that's coming in this case, out of your guitar. So you're actually using your mouth as a soundbox, replacing the soundbox of your guitar, so to speak, with your mouth. And as you change your way around, you get the Bon Jovi's wow, 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 which is just using the mouth to form the sound that's coming from the guitar. A talkbox and a vocoder are not the same technology, but a similar result. And so this allows to
Ice cream fantasy.
move the sense of formants. People will say, oh, well, if you lift the formant up, then you become more of a female voice. If you lower the formant, you get more of a male voice. It doesn't really work that way, but fair enough.
I don't want to go home now.
Vocoders are prone to being a little on the dull side,
Ice cream, yeah.
so there's the ability to
I
boost
don't think I
the treble. This comes largely boosted anyway, because that's what you do on a vocoder. We've then got the ability to change the attack and
my
release.
ice cream fantasy.
So you can become a lot
I
washier.
can live without you in my ice cream fantasy. Now, please, can I have some more ice cream? Yeah.
So particularly if you're using this in a mix,
I don't think I can live without you in my ice cream fantasy.
you might increase the decay there.
Please, can I have some more ice cream? Yeah.
We can spread the spectral output. So that's just taking each of our bands, spreading them in the stereo
I
mix.
don't think I can live without you in my ice cream fantasy. Home now, please. Can I have some more ice?
That's a different thing. That's not something that's doable in the standard Reason vocoder, and it is quite cool so long as you don't overdo it.
I don't want to go home.
We've then got the option to
now,
impose a gain
please.
curve.
Can I have some more ice cream? Yeah. I don't think I can live.
This does exist in the existing vocoder, and most vocoders do this. Often they do it with like a sort of a graphic EQ type thing instead of sliders. This allows you to draw.
Now, please. Can I have some more ice cream? Yeah.
So you can pick and choose how you want your bands to sound.
Think I can live without you in my ice cream fantasy.
It's actually really rather cool. It's not the same as EQing. Thank you again. It's actually changing the spectral balance. It's a little bit like multi-band compression or something like that. It's cool. You got to find your way to it, but it is rather nice. There is then the option to hit a hold. So now it'll hold that sound forever. How useful it is, I don't know, because I've never actually used it in all my decades of vocoding things, which honestly I just don't do that much, despite the fact that I love vocoders. They're hard to find use for in reality. Mixer we've looked at already, our master output. There is a limiter you can pop across
I don't want to go home now.
things. And in some situations it's not a bad idea because they can get pretty peaky. Thank you again. Busy morning. So that's the vocoder part. That's a classic vocoder. We've then got the fast Fourier transform, which is not
Can I
that
have some more
new.
ice cream? Yeah.
The original BV512 in Reason has an FFT, a 512 band. Suggesting this is a brand new and amazing technology, no. Most vocoders have been doing this for a long time. We can choose,
To go home now.
I'm not sure how many bands because I haven't looked at the manual deliberately. That's a bit, mid is generally good.
I can live without you in my ice cream fantasy.
The difference between mid and high is not immediately apparent, but it's just that little bit clearer, and that does help.
I don't want to go home now. Please, can I have some more ice cream? Yeah. I don't think I can live without you in my ice cream fantasy.
So we've got another filter
Now, please, can I have some more ice cream? Yeah. I don't think I can live without
that we can
you
apply.
in my ice cream fantasy. I want to go home now, please.
That is interesting. That's different. I'm not going to pretend to fully understand it, but you've got 8 different filters that you can apply,
Ice cream, yeah. I don't think I can live without
which are going to be somewhat like this.
you. Fantasy.
Sometimes they're going to sound great, sometimes they're just going to sound terrible. But that all comes down to what sound you're looking to achieve. On the surface, they're probably more interesting when you're doing non-vocal things than vocal things, but if you're looking to kind of create your vocode so that it fits into a particular frequency spectrum, then that sort of EQ type thing could be rather handy for that. We then got our synth carrier. So remember, we need the synth. If we don't have the synth, now often the synth on its own will sound horrid because we want as many frequencies as we can as a general rule. This is extracted from Europa, and for any of you who know Europa, Europa is a very powerful, very capable synth based on this sort of additive digital oscillator that you can do quite a few things to.
In my ice cream fantasy.
So we can take a form
Now, please, can I have some more ice?
and adjust it. There are, I know I read the number, but there are quite a few forms.
I don't think I can live without you in my
So that's just a sine wave,
want to go home now.
going to a saw.
Can I have some more ice cream? Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't think I can live without you in my ice cream fantasy. Please, can I have some more ice cream? Yeah. I don't think I can live without you in my ice cream fantasy.
Largely, the more overtones you have in your sound, the more clarity you will get out of your voice. You can pitch.
Go home now, please. Can I have some more ice cream? Yeah. I don't think I can live without you.
You've got the basic synth options of whether you've got a polyphonic sound, re-triggering legato. You can voice pan, so where we've got chords here.
Go home now, please.
So the lower the note, the more to the left of the spectrum it is. The higher the note, the more to the right to the spectrum it is. That's doable if you use NNXT as
Can I have some more ice cream? Yeah.
source.
I don't think
Probably
I
doable
can
with
live without
Europa too.
you.
Yes, it would be with using
In my-
the mod matrix. You could do it from within Europa. So it's not a new feature, but it's kind of nice to have it on board.
Fantasy. I don't want to go home now.
Either we get the really nice
Can I have
robot-y
some
thing.
more ice cream? Yeah. I don't think I can live without you in my ice cream fantasy.
Often nice to have
I
portamento.
want to go home now, please. Can I have some more ice cream? Yeah. I don't think I can live without you in my ice cream fantasy. I don't want to go home now, please. Can I have some more ice cream? Yeah.
So often you will find that you get a nicer result with a lower pitched oscillator. We go high. It starts to get kind of creepy. Go low, and it sounds
I don't want to
cool.
go home now.
You've then got this harmonic mixer. This is rather cool. So that's your standard note.
Can I have some more ice cream? Yeah.
We can mix in an octave
I
below.
don't think I can live without you. My ice cream fantasy.
7 semitones or a
I
fifth
don't
up.
want to go home now, please. Can I have some more ice cream? Yeah.
An octave up,
I don't think I can live without you.
an octave and a fifth.
In my ice cream fantasy. I don't want to go home now. Please, can I have some more ice cream? Yeah.
So it's often nice to do
I
things like
don't
this.
think I can live without you in my ice cream fantasy. I don't want to go home now. Please, can I have some more ice cream? Yeah.
You get this really nice spread of sound because you've got quite a few extra notes playing across a broader spectrum. It also means that you can go down to a simpler oscillator form
I can live without you in
and still get workable results.
Can I have some more ice cream? Yeah.
Well, that's interesting
I don't think I can live without you.
because whatever you do to your synthesizer sound will appear in the results. So the more chorused or delayed or whatever your synthesizer sound
In my
is,
ice cream fantasy.
the more exciting the result will be.
I don't want to go home now. Please, can I have some more ice? I don't think I can live without you.
FM makes
My
for some
ice
very
cream
interesting
fantasy.
results.
I don't want to go home now. Please, can I have some more ice cream? Yeah.
That's super cool. There is then this noise feature. They're acting like they invented this and it's just brand new, never been done before. There is one part of this which I haven't seen, or at least not fully aware of, but I doubt that it's the first time it's been done. Is that if we mix in
I can live without you in my ice cream fantasy.
white noise, we actually get more clarity. If it's 100% noise, it gets a little creepy.
Can I?
We can change the color of our noise.
I don't think I can live without you in my ice cream fantasy.
So any seasoned vocodist would tend to mix in a little bit of very bright.
to go home now, please. Can I have some more ice cream? Yeah.
And as soon as you mix in that little bit, it picks up the sibilants and it brings them forward. So suddenly our intelligibility is so much higher.
My ice cream fantasy.
What they've done here is using
go home now, please.
a detector system, whether that's compression or some kind of semi-intelligent detector system that says that sounds more like a sound than a ooh ah ee. I'm not quite sure. Getting people to tell the truth on this is very hard these days because everyone always goes to the, it's an AI neural network. Now, there's no such thing as a bloody positronic man, except for in Silverberg's book. But we can set to auto,
yeah.
which means that as there is more sibilant or guttural sounds, as in non-pitched sounds, then it actually adds in the white noise.
I don't think I can live without you in my ice cream fantasy.
If it's there all the time,
I don't want to go home now.
You can hear it all the time.
Can I have some more ice cream? Yeah. I don't think I can live without.
So it's small difference, but it does allow for that little bit more intelligibility without adding the constant
in my
white noise sound.
Fantasy.
The amp mode is it can follow an envelope or gated. If you're used to something like an SH-101, then you'll really be used to this. Gated is what you mostly want. Mostly you just want the sound to appear and then disappear as notes are turned on and off. But if you do want to have the sound...
Please, can I have some more ice cream? Yeah. I don't think I can live without you in my ice cream fantasy. I don't want to go home now. Can I have some more ice cream?
There is nothing to stop you from doing this.
I can live without you in my ice cream fantasy.
So there we've got the sound turning into that.
Can I have some more ice cream? Yeah. I don't think I can live without you in my ice cream fantasy.
Which is rather cool. So you've got a fair amount of flexibility there in how you set up your sound. You have some effects on the side. There's a unison.
I don't want to go home now. I don't want to go home now. Please.
I assume this is being applied to the synthesizer and not to the actual output. Let's have a Yeah, it is. It's being applied to the synthesizer. Actually, you could hear the noise being moved in and out there.
I don't think I can live without you.
We can go up to 8 voices.
My ice cream fantasy. I don't want to go home.
You can also offset the timing on these as well.
Now, please. Can I have some more ice cream? Yeah.
So they've gotten quite loose, which is cool.
I don't think I can live without you in my ice cream fantasy.
So all the things that you would expect out of a D-tune.
I don't want to go home now, please. Can I have some more ice cream? Yeah.
That's actually rather cool. In this situation, because they've got the timing slop, then if you blend...
I don't think I can live without you in my ice cream fantasy.
That would be a little harder to do with a standard synthesizer, because the timing on your unison is an uncommon feature. So that is a rather cool thing.
Now, please.
Let's see what it sounds like. It's not as effective as a synth sound, but it's not a very nice synth sound.
I don't want to go home now, please.
You've also got some effects.
I think I can live without you in my ice cream fantasy.
You've got a ring modulator. A ring modulator is most famously known for the Dalek sound, but is still commonly used in alien voices.
Now, please, can I have some more ice cream? Yeah. I don't think I can live without you in my ice cream fantasy. I don't want to go home now, please. Can I have some more ice cream? Yeah.
So adding a little bit of ring modulator in can be really nice. The bode is a frequency shifter. So unlike a pitch shifter, which says I'll take this note and move it by so many semitones or part thereof, a frequency shifter actually takes each frequency and shifts it by an even amount. And that actually breaks up the harmonic relationship. So if we
Think I can live without you.
mix this,
Now, please, can I have some ice cream? Yeah.
so you get a strange sort of a robot-y thing.
Think I can live without you in my ice cream fantasy.
And if we add feedback,
I
it
don't want to go
compounds.
home now, please. Can I have some more ice cream? Yeah.
Again, adding a little bit of
I
that
don't think I can
adds a
live without
tremendous
you
beauty.
in my ice cream fantasy.
It adds movement and depth. So these are things that you could do off board, in reason, assuming, of course, that you have the bode frequency shifter, which you probably should, because it's a pretty darn impressive device. And then there is a reverb on the end as well.
I don't want to go home now, please. Can I have some more ice cream? Yeah.
You've got a couple of different formats.
I don't think I can live without you in my ice cream fantasy. I don't want to go home.
So all of that means that you can have a very complex and interesting sound coming out of this. And then you've got access to a vibrato.
Oh, please, can I have some more ice cream? Yeah. I don't think I can live without you in my ice cream fantasy.
Which helps a lot.
I don't want to go home now, please. Can I have some more ice cream? Yeah. I don't think I can live without you.
You can set that from the mod
in my
wheel.
ice cream fantasy. I don't want to go home now, please. Can I have some more ice cream? Yeah.
Now, this is never going to sound natural. If you're thinking, oh, great, I'm a singer, therefore I'm going to get a vocoder and then I'll be able to sing everything. It's the same as people who tried that with auto-tune on extreme settings. Yes, you get a result, but virtually nobody's going to buy that record. You end up with a sound that is off-putting. So don't think that this is going to suddenly allow you to sing and sell records hand over fist. It's an effect and needs to be used with great care. But in the right situation, it's absolutely superb. Get something like ELO's Time record, and the vocoding on that is truly beautiful. And then we have a modulation matrix done in typical Reason fashion, so we can choose something from somewhere and send it to somewhere. Let's just send it to the Formants. This is going to sound creepy. We can key sync, V sync.
In my ice cream fantasy.
We can scale it then with things.
Go home now, please. Can I have some more ice cream? Yeah. I don't think I can live without you.
Including external CVs.
Fantasy. I don't want to go home. Please. Can I have some more ice cream? Yeah.
So there's a lot that we can do on board. Again, a lot of this could be done with care and understanding, especially if you have your roper. Doing a lot of this sort of stuff can be done, but having it all in the one box, ready to go, if you're going to do a lot of vocoding, this makes this a surprisingly effective device. Let's look at another instance. This time we will look at drums. While in theory you can vocode anything, the reality is that you will find pretty quickly that most things just don't really work out to deliver anything particularly useful. Vocoding one synth sound against another synth sound just gives you a synth sound you probably could have made in the first place. But here you can do it with drums. Again, there is some kind of change that this imparts. This modulator signal that comes out is not clean. I don't know what it does. Maybe it's in the manual. It's a little intriguing. Yes, there's a big level boost here. But it's doing something. Is that a good or bad thing? I don't know. It's an interesting thing. So, we can take autoplay. You can hear that the synth really has no idea which way to go, in which case we could try locking it to a scale. But it's still going to leap octaves as it tries to make sense of the sound that it's hearing. We can change the speed. Or change our pitch. So they're the ways to go, or we can take our existing MIDI and feed it to here, which we're not going to do for the moment, because we're also going to look at external. I have an NNXT set up here to provide us some notes. So the reason I chose the NNXT over Thor is just because I want to show, yeah, you could feed samples into the back end of this. You could feed two voices against each other if you wanted. Obviously, we lose a certain amount of control. Actually, that's interesting. That does appear to be working on the vocoded result. So I possibly was wrong there about it working on the synth. It seems to be working within the vocoded results, which is probably interesting. That is good. That is really rather cool. And of course we can apply our... I will warn you, this sort of stuff gets rather tricky in a mix because it's so spiky, it's so all over the place, that you probably will want to get into using some sort of control. But you're after a character sound to go inside a mix that's just going to sit there. Then your vocoding can be quite interesting way of getting that. And it's kind of fun. Let's turn these off for the moment. Now here's where, if you've got Reason or any other system that allows you to do things, we can get a bit interesting. So our sound is now that. We've got an eighth triplet gator that's moving through different bands, high, mid, low bands. And because they're sometimes offset from each other, you're getting part of something, and you end up with a rather interesting sound. I'm pretty confident a Gary Newman record uses a little bit of vocoding on a CR78. And if we wanted to do the note spread thing, can hear it here. Not very clear there. Would be clearer on voice. This is one of the great advantages of Reason. It's very easy to do these sorts of modular things. And then we could even fly in more complex kinds of things, which I won't waste your time doing because I assume you can work out ideas from here. It's not my job to say, do this, because that's boring. Everybody does the same thing. As I say, you can vocode any two things together. You will just often find that once you get past voices and maybe something percussive like drums, it starts to become diminishing returns. But if you want to get a timpani and a flute and vocode the pair of them together, go for it, have fun. You might get something really amazing, or you may lose quite a lot of hours of your life. There's no particular right or wrong answer in this situation.
I want to go home. Please, can I have some more ice cream? Yeah. I don't think I can live without you in my ice cream fantasy.
So you can end up with some rather cool results. Just be aware that it's very easy to fall in love with the results of vocoding, but much harder to put it in a mix and actually sell it. Most audiences don't particularly love robot voices. They will accept them in movies, or even there, the Raja Raja, but that's just because they're stupid, not because of the voices. The vocode's actually quite nice. So while vocoders have become a bit fashionable, because obviously auto-tuning's, well, it's horribly, horribly done, the idea of thinking that, I'll get a vocoder and I can make my whole album can be vocoded, and that way nobody needs to know how bad a singer I am. Yeah, they will know exactly how bad a singer you are, and most people won't listen to the album, even people who, like me, who love a vocoder. You know, it's like listening to a Rockets record or an ELO record or a Kraftwerk record. Yeah, vocoder, but it's used very, very carefully still. So don't overdo it. Otherwise, you will find that it just doesn't work out the way you hope. So final words, really impressive in a very Reason Studios sort of a way, in the sense that they have not really come up with anything new, but they've taken a lot of existing bits and pieces, put them all together so that it works easily in one unit. Yes, I have come up with a couple of things that it does that are outside of what I expected they were going to do and would be hard to do. So in terms of literally being able to duplicate this with existing Reason things, can go a fair way, but not exactly there. The unison that turns out to actually be working on the vocoded signal, and the fact that it's got this timing offset, that's pretty interesting. That's rather tempting. Obviously, having access then to the Bode shifter, if you don't have the Echo Bode rack extension already, that's kind of cool. This is not going to be the equal of having the Echo Bode, but in this situation works nicely. Do you get it? That's entirely up to you. Obviously, if you're going down the $20 a month road, you've suddenly got access to a really impressive vocoder that's easy to use with a lot of flexibility. Do you spend $99 on it? Well, it depends how into vocoding you are and how useful it's going to be. Bearing in mind, vocoding is not as useful as you'd like it to be. It's a bit of a tricky one, which is part of why I say I think it probably should have been a $49 unit. In the bigger picture of Reason, probably would be nice if they were spending all of their time on fixing Reason 12, which is got to be the worst release they've ever had, because even the latest bug-fix version has just introduced more bugs. They don't seem to be able to universally get their heads around it. Reason have gone from being the most stable DAW, hands down, nobody else was as stable as Reason. It used to be effectively bugless, never crashed, never did anything bad, to now being quite sketchy. which is a shame. I know that there would be a different team working on this from working on the DAW, but sort of feel like a little less than in an ideal place at the moment. So bringing out a novelty device when their basics are not well covered does seem a little but they probably had this planned a long time ago. You have to work out where you sit on that one. I think it's, for what it is, just within itself, a very impressive device. The more time I spend with it, the more impressed I am with what it is. And that's generally how I feel about all Reason devices. They come out, or they're often announced. Like Alligator. When the Alligator was announced, I was like, I don't want that. Why would I want to upgrade and get that? And while I rarely use it, when I do use it, it's actually really rather cool. So there's got this mindset of being able to make things really, really useful. And this still has all of that going for it. As I've said before, I would probably look at some other vocoders, VST-based things, which will naturally give us a sense of, well, if this is what Reason's doing and it is great, how are the VSTs that come to light for me comparing to this? If you have any questions, want to have a discussion about this, hit subscribe, pop it on down below. Please don't ask me exactly how to make a vocoder work. It's there at the beginning of this, and you do need to look at your instructions. Remember, a vocoder needs two signals. So you need your vocal, which is your modulator or key, and you need your carrier. If you don't have both of them actually coming in at once, and you don't have the system set to look for these things in the right place, it just won't work. And it's not going to be the fault of the machine anywhere near so much as a fault of your lack of comprehension that you need these two things active at once. It is possible with this to actually play and sing into it live. I did it briefly, but it just wasn't necessary, I didn't think, in terms of a video. So any other questions, as I say, ask on down below. Also pop over to higherhertz.com because there's a different stream of information. No vocoders over there as far as I'm aware. You have a great day.